So, have you? I like to do a lot of breakout rooms when I teach over Zoom, and one of the things I like to use is Google Slides. With Google Slides, I like to kind of create a Google slide, and then each group can kind of edit it. So I'm teaching genetics, and I have this template that I like to give to each group in the breakout room, and so each group has a breakout room, and I tell them to make a team name, and then they go through and talk about genetic disorder. But really, what I want to do is I want to be able to take this template and copy it, say, 12 times. So each breakout group has a copy. It'd be nice if I could set the sharing so it would automatically share with everyone, so everyone with the link can edit. And maybe change this breakout group number so it would actually have the group number in it. So then when they're in the breakout room, they know, oh, we're number 5. We need to open up file number 5. So what I did is, with the help of ChatGPT, of course, I designed this function. It's called under Google Apple Scripts. I mean, you can access it here in your Google Drive, new, more, Google Apple Scripts library, and I'll create a new one. I have a couple. I just kind of started getting into scripting here. Kind of like a JavaScript type language here. So anyway, I have this function here called batch process slides. The first thing you need to do is kind of give it your template ID. It's that little code in the URL of the template you're using. So you copy that, put it in the function, and then what it's going to do is it's going to go through. It's going to keep track of all the links, so I can copy them to a PowerPoint slide to give to the class and paste it into the Zoom chat so they know where to click. But what it does is it takes that template, gets the file, gets the permission, gets the parent folder, so it's going to copy all the subsequent files to said parent folder, and then it loops over it. We can make 12 copies. I'm just going to do 2 in this test run. Tells you which one it's working on. It makes a copy of it, and it names it group with the number, genetic disorders, and then adds the file to the said parent folder. It sets the sharing to anyone with a link can edit. It copies the URL and puts it in a list, and then it can put that into the format, which I'm going to copy and paste for my PowerPoint strip. And then what I want to do is I want to get into the slide and edit that first slide. So instead of saying breakout group number, it says breakout group number 12 or 2. So it gets the slides, it gets the title slide, which is the first slide. This was did a little debugging here, but it gets all the shapes, all the text boxes and stuff. Unfortunately, text box number 1 is the shape we want. I could probably do a loop over all the shapes and find out which one has the text. But at this point here, it gets the existing text from that shape. Make sure it starts with the word breakout group, and then it changes the text to breakout group with a number. And then if it doesn't, it logs it to tell me there was a problem. And then at the end, it gives me all the links. So we're going to run, I always create a main function, but you can see it doesn't really do anything. So it's processing copy. I see, a little bit of it goes into the editing of the slide. Processing copy number 2. I said to only do 2 copies. So once it's finished, it should give me a list of all the links to the newly created files that I can now open for editing. So I can take this file here, give it to a student, and then they can type it in the web browser and it opens. And you can see it did edit the thing to breakout group 01. Or if I go to number 2, it should likewise say breakout group 02. It saves me a lot of time. So if I go to my folder here, you can see I now have group 1, group 2. I used to kind of do it like this. Copy. Now I have a copy, and then I can make a copy of the copy. And then I have to manually go through and rename each one. And then and if I really wanted that first slide to have a number on it, I'd have to manually go through that as well. And then, sharing wasn't too bad. You can kind of do this. And then to share, and then say, I want this to be anyone with the link editor. So that was fine. But then when you copy the links, it comes up all goofy. I guess I'll just put it in here because it's easy to see. But like the copy of the links would be all out of order. And so group 1 slide would be named group 2. It was almost like a random shuffle over the order of the links. So this process saves me a lot of time. And I hope maybe it's